Braun, Kratz, and Pierzynski for FTLIVE. Let's run it. Actually, the biggest news for FT fans was released yesterday at the end of the show. Kratz, I'll let you describe what that news is. The hint is, if you look at AJ's shirt and his hat, there's a new addition, but it doesn't have to do with AJ because he lives in warm weather. What is it?
I mean, we need it today. We got about 3 inches of snow today up here in PA. That sweatshirt. I mean, the FT sweatshirt. Let's get it.
FT hoodie. AJ, you're going to need it soon. Prepare yourself.
Kratz needs it to cry in after his Eagles got butt stomped last night by Todd's Bucks.
There's no denying that. If I was picking which team was going to win, I would have 100% taken the Bucks. There is nothing that the Eagles showed in the last 6 games of the year that made me even want to watch the entire game.
Is there any equivalent for what an MLB team would resemble if they were the Eagles to come crashing down? Maybe like some of those
the Yankees in 2022, where they started out gangbusters and then nobody but Aaron Judge hit, and then they made the playoffs, but that was like, oh, cool, neat.
How about the Rays last year?
The Rays, very similar, yeah. I mean, the Eagles were 10-1
first round.
Don't say I never let you talk about football, AJ. Let's charge the mound, powered by Teaser. If you're a dipper, stop it. And this is a great way to get off. And there's no nicotine. There's no tobacco. It's called Teaser. Look it up. We'll give you the promo code at the back end of this segment. So what I want to get from you guys is perspective on where we're at in the free agent market. Not from a player-to-player, team-by-team situation. We'll do plenty of that. We do that every single day. So, AJ, if you're sitting at home right now and you know you're a big league ball player and you are going to sign for millions of dollars, but it hasn't happened yet. Let's say Scott Boras is your agent and he's like, listen, I've done this for – it wouldn't be? Go ahead. You know what I'm going to ask, so why don't you just list it?
I'm just filling in the blanks for you.
Okay. And you are getting a little bit anxious because you want to know which team you're going to join. I'm going to pause after each sentence. And we're a month away. What do you do? What do you feel like? What kind of conversations are going down? Do you call the agent a little more? Does the family get a little bit annoying? The friends texting, hey, what's good?
The friends and family texting is the thing that used to get you all the time for me. As a player, you get a little anxious because it gets now. You're less than a month away now. You're about 4 weeks away from having to be there, 3 weeks away from having to show up and be ready to go. So, and you don't know where you're going. And what happens is the wife, the kids, the family, the mother, the father. Hey, where are you going to sign? Are you going to sign? Are you not playing this year? What's the deal? Are you retired? Why have you not signed yet? Are you going to sign with the Yankees? The Yankees need a catcher. Well, great. The problem is that, it takes two to tango. And, yeah, it gets a little bit annoying because everyone you see is, oh, where'd you sign? If you haven't signed yet, why haven't you signed yet? Is there something wrong? Or are you hurt? You just get tired of answering the question. So it becomes a little bit of a waiting game, and it tests your patience. I don't know that I ever made it this deep into a winter without being signed. I think early January I signed with the White Sox one year, and that was the latest I ever made it. But it still wears on you a little bit because you're just like, man, what is taking so long? And what clubs do is they sit there and they wait and they wait and they wait and they hope that the player's price comes down because they panic. And you have Scott Boras, who's, if he's your agent, he's going, don't worry, Cody. Don't worry, Matt. Don't worry, Blake. I'll get you your best deal available no matter what. And then the player starts getting anxious and he's reaching out to Scott and you're reaching out to your agent saying, hey, man, what are you hearing? Who are you talking to? Blah, blah, blah. Is there any way I can help? Is there someone I can call to help facilitate a deal? So it becomes a little bit nerve-wracking as a player, but in the end, these guys are all going to get their money and they're going to be just fine. You just have to let the process play out. It's much easier said than done.
Obviously, I don't know what it's like to be a big league free agent, but I also think AJ and I being catchers, you rarely see catchers wait very long to sign up. Like they know the guys that they want to go get. And so I think if you're a Boras client, we got to ask the next Boras client we have on, somebody that's gone through free agency. Like, do they tell you, hey, look, like we're going to wait here. We're going to listen to our first 3 offers, and then we're going to hold off on it. We're going to like the part that would be nerve-wracking for me. And the 1 year that I was, excuse me, that I was a free agent until January. It was like January 8th or 10th. I signed with the Pirates. I was sitting there going, okay, I don't have any offers. Like nobody's called. That means they're calling people ahead of me. And as a minor league free agent, you're thinking like, whoa, like I need to go get a job. Like I need to find something else to do. I wasn't going to go play independent ball. And so I started not to panic, but to like think, all right, well, I guess I'm kind of going to start planning the next thing. You're still getting ready for baseball. You're still getting ready as well as you can to be able to play in the season, just like you would if you had a job. You just don't know where you're going yet.
So do you think that at some point someone gets a little desperate?
It happens every year.
Always.
Guys, it happens every year. Guys take deals that people are like, man, why do you take that deal? And you're like, well, it's February 1st and spring training starts in 2 weeks. That's why he took that deal. The thing is also, you have to understand spring training, you don't know where to live. You don't have a place. You don't have a place to stay in spring training. You're going to a city that might be a new city and you don't have a place to live in the city. And you fly in and you got 1 day to find a place to live. And you're like, oh man, how am I going to find a place to live? And it becomes a lot that starts piling up on your mind. And absolutely, every year you see guys that sign, you're like, man, why do you only take a 1 year deal? And you're like, well, because he kind of panicked a little bit, and that's okay. Some of these guys hopefully don't do that and they get everything they want, but it's a lot. If you don't know where you're living in spring training, if you don't know, it's a little different in Arizona because you can kind of live anywhere in the Phoenix area, but in Florida, you could be anywhere on the whole state. So it is a thing. And then let's say you're Blake Snell and you've been out on the West Coast for the last few years. Oh, you're going to go to New York. Well, you don't know where to live in New York. You don't know what house you want to get or condo or apartment or whatever it is. You have no idea. So then you fly in there and you get 1 day, an off day, and you got to find a place to live while you're living in a hotel. That just sucks. So guys definitely feel the pressure.
What about agents? Are there battles with some players and their agents? Like, hey, you're not doing your job. And the agent's like, no, I am doing my job, but this is part of the process and you need to be patient.
Yeah, I'm sure there's battles like that. I've heard of battles like that. I know for a fact a significant player at his time was going out to free agency, got an offer from the team that he was with, a 4-year deal, and his agent took it and said to the media, hey, we have 2 or 3 offers, and the other team, his original team, knew there wasn't 2 or 3 offers. That day, the owner said, nope, we don't want that. We don't want you to handle this situation like this. Completely pivoted, went and signed somebody else. Lost out on his job. So you got to trust your agent. You have to trust your agent.
It's good advice for any players that are listening out there.
Yeah, but also you see guys switch agents too, right? You see guys switch agents.
I don't know how. I mean, you see it all the time.
You see guys, either right after they sign or, who was it, Correa that switched agents in the middle of his free agency? Or it was somebody a couple years ago. It was a big name that switched like right in the middle of it. And they're
like he was negotiating it? Oh, right.
Yeah. Remember? And they're like, yeah, no, I'm going to someone else. And it was like in the middle of their negotiations. And it was like, man, that's a weird one. Freddie Freeman, remember his with his agent? He got mad about that one. That was a big one. Was it Casey Close? Remember there was like a big deal about them and the Braves, the way that whole thing was handled.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so yeah, listen, you have to trust your agent. The one thing I think the players need to remember, the agent works for you. Mm-hmm. You don't work for the agent. So you can go to the agent and say, listen, man, find me a job and find me a good job. And if it has to be a 1-year deal, it has to be a 1-year deal. But you work your ass off to get to this point as a player, and then your agent's holding you up. And the one thing I also notice, and I've heard, is guys don't always hear about all the offers they're given. The agent doesn't tell them sometimes about offers because they don't want them to go to a certain team, right? And so you're like, oh, man, I didn't know that this team offered me. Because guess what? The agent didn't tell you because it wasn't a team he wanted you to go to, or it wasn't the money that they wanted, where in reality it might have been somewhere that the player wanted to go. So remember, if you're out there as a player, the agent works for you. And you, at the end of the day, have the ultimate say-so. And I also don't want to hear about the Players Association saying, "Oh, that's a bad deal." No, nobody can talk to you about your personal life and your personal decisions because you make the deal that's best for you in your life. Because at the end of the day, the Players Association is there to help you, but they're not the end all be all.
Yep. And
That's
you did
ridiculous.
everything. As much as your agent can sell things, just think of your agent as somebody who can do the negotiating for you, yes. But all you've done already as a player, you are setting yourself up for the deal you're going to get. Is it going to be as many years as you think? Is it going to be as much money as he thinks? That's all has to be discussed ahead of time. But you can't sit there and be like, man, my agent, he got me 7 years and I was supposed to get 5. Like your ability and what you've done, shows itself and is going to play out in that situation in the market.
What are you supposed to do if your agent doesn't tell you every offer? I mean, that is
that's
some
crazy.
next level
You
bullshit
don't
right
know. You don't know the answer. You don't know because you don't know until you find out after. Sometimes you find out afterwards. I'm not saying it happened to me. I used to tell my agent, I go, listen, any phone call you get from a team that's making some sort of offer, tell me.
there.
And then I'll make the decision. I was lucky my agent was a smaller guy and we had a great we still are really good friends and he would tell, to give me all the information. But trust me, there are guys, these corporate agents, man. I mean, listen, I mean, you guys all know Johnny Damon, who was a good friend of mine. You guys remember he went to the Yankees and the Red Sox were like, hey, we didn't get a chance to match. And there was this whole big deal. And I don't know how much Johnny wants to know about it, but Scott Boras was his agent and there were some feelings there that Boras wanted him in New York and not in Boston. So he didn't give him the full story. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but there was a lot of rumors about that when Johnny went to the Yankees over the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough because in that situation, if you don't know what conversations are going on, you can't even say, "Hey, the agent works for you. You got to be in control." How? I don't know every conversation going on. So
that's a
the only answer to
relationship you
that is
build.
David Robertson. He's self-represented.
That's because he
most
doesn't want
people
to
don't
pay the
advise
fee.
that.
He doesn't want to pay his agent fee. That's why he's self-represented.
Well, you probably what you don't get, I guess, in an agent helping out, it probably kind of equals the difference. No.
I don't know that you get any more money. I mean, he understands what his value is. It's more of just the legal part of it, and you still have to. I know the 1 year that he negotiated his contract, it was like a 1-year deal. He still had to get a lawyer to look it over, so you still got to pay a lawyer. But to me, it's nickel and diming. To me, it's like you have a relationship with a guy. I love my agent, and we're still friends. And he did everything he could for me for the type of career that I had. And if guys don't have that kind of relationship, I feel bad for them because a lot of guys, especially early in their career, they're like, "Oh man, this dude can get me some Nike shoes. He can get me the Trouts custom. Oh, sick." It's like to me, that's like a fleeting thing that you're looking for. You're looking for a relationship that you trust this person and you know that he has the best interests for you, not for him.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. All right, let's get to some breaking news. So the Houston Astros are down a reliever for the entire 2024 season, and it is one of my favorite players, so I'm pissed. Kendall Graveman, right shoulder surgery, friend of the show, out for the rest of the season, or for the entire season. The season hasn't started yet. I'm just looking at some tweets from some Astros people, including Brian McTaggart, who said the team is focused on bringing in another reliever via free agency or trade. But remember, Dana Brown said at the winter meetings he did not want to overpay in the relief pitching market. Well, that might have to change. There's the news for you. Shoulder surgery. He's in the last year of his contract with Houston. He signed, a 3-year, $21 million deal that covered 2022 to 2024. That was with the White Sox. White Sox traded him to Houston. Remember last year, too, at the end of the season, the shoulder was barking, and he wasn't in the postseason for them. So they were missing him there. And then it sounded like some rest and rehab, and then he's thrown again, but it did not work out. So unfortunately, we won't get to see Kendall Graveman pitch this season. And that sucks for Houston. Kratz, it's a competitive division. I mean, the Rangers won it. Even though the Mariners have been weird this offseason, they're good. So for Houston, they've had a good bullpen for years. Hector Neris is a free agent. Not sure if he's coming back, but they might want to call him.
Yeah, they might want to call him, and I assume it'll probably happen. I mean, they know him the best. They know whether the analytics say he may have been getting too lucky. They may look at it and be like, no, this guy has been a dog for us. He has always taken the ball in big spots, and he throws the splitter as often as he can. But they're not in dire straits. As much as they want Kendall Graveman, you're going to have a resurgence of Abreu. You're going to have a resurgence of Montero, meaning like they're going to be back. They're going to be back. They're going to be elite, and maybe not as elite as the end of the season that they were, but then you still have a closer. So you still have your 7, 8, 9 guys. If those guys falter, it really doesn't matter who you bring in. So I see them going after one other guy. Do they get I even think like a Robert Stevenson might be out of their price range if they don't want to pay. They're clearly not going to go after Hader if they're not willing to pay, and they have a closer, so they don't want to go that direction. But they have to shore up all their little leaking holes, because I know Bregman said it at the end of the year, who knows what it's going to look like if the Astros don't win the division. I guess we'll never know. It's getting closer, and a team in their division won the World Series. So they do need to patch up the holes a little bit, and this is a big loss. This is a big loss because this guy came out and gave them big innings.
Okay, so there's two things of the Astros. One, the Astros knew about this last year, because I remember talking to Kendall Graveman in the playoffs, and he's like, I don't know what's going on my shoulder. I know I can't throw a ball from me to the camera I'm looking at, which is about 7 feet away. So he was hurt last year. Talking to him, he knew he was hurt. Now, why he tried to rehab it, obviously, but the difference between him getting surgery in October and him getting surgery in January isn't that big of a deal, because he was going to miss this season anyway. So the Astros knew about this. The thing for me, the Astros, Abreu is really good. Presley's been unbelievable for him. Montero was awful for him last year. They lost Stanek. He's a free agent. Maton's a free agent. They need a lefty in the bullpen. They went last year basically with no lefties in their bullpen, which is almost unheard of. So they need to find a lefty in their bullpen. They also need to find another late inning right-handed guy, whether that's Neris, whether that's whoever they want to find. But the Astros need help in the bullpen. And like Kratz said, for the first time ever, we're looking at it going, man, the Astros aren't a surefire thing to make the playoffs and win this division, because the Rangers just won the World Series. The Mariners are going to win 54% of their games. The Angels hopefully are better under Wash. I feel like the A's are going to still suck. But I think the Astros, for the first time in years, are vulnerable, and they need to do something. Dana Brown, Jim Crane, they need to step up and say, hey, we need to sign somebody in the bullpen.
54% joke just never gets old. Sorry, it just never gets old.
Gets a chuckle out of me every time.
It does. Hey, for anyone unaware of Teza, go check it out right now at tezaenergy.com and enter the discount code FOUL, FOUL, for 20% off your first order. We are ready to bring in our first guest of the day. Excited to have him for the first time on the show. He writes for the Star Tribune, covers the Minnesota Twins, known him for a while. LaVelle Neal joining us right now on the show. LaVelle, great to see you, man. You've had a pretty chill offseason since the Twins decided they're not doing anything this offseason. How you doing?
Yeah, you're right about that. I'm actually writing a football column for tomorrow's paper, so I'm still waiting for the Twins to kind of get off their keysters here and get going. Their hot stove never got even to warm. I think Josh Stomont is like their number one free agent acquisition so far this offseason. So we're still waiting to see how this plays out. Falvey and Levine, they have a history of waiting to damn near reporting time to fill out their roster. So we're going to wait and see how that turns out with these two guys. So, and I just want to say, I'm honored to be on the same radio station with the great AJ Pierzynski, who I covered for many years in Minnesota. So hello, AJ. You're not forgotten here.
LaVelle, let me just say this. When they were talking about you in our production meeting, they were saying Twins, what was it? Legend? No, wait, what was it? Twins Insider, Twins. There was some word, and I was like, they must not know LaVelle very well, because if they're using these big words with him, they must not know what a peon he is around Minnesota. So, I'm thankful we got you on our YouTube/podcast. It's not a radio show. We're not Sid Hartman here back in 98 trying to get you on Sid Hartman show. But LaVelle, thanks for coming on. I want to know, when are you going to ask Falvey and Levine the hard questions like, why the fuck aren't they signing anybody, or are they trying to win this division or give it away?
I know they're in a great position here. They're coming off a division title. The other teams have made moves, but I don't think enough to topple the Twins. And they have a young core that's emerging. with Royce Lewis and Edouard Julian and Matt Wallner and those guys. And, Bailey Ober, Yohan Duran, the closer, has got a lot of talent. And Joe Ryan has got a lot of talent as well. They need to add. They lost Sonny Gray. They lost Kenta Maeda. Let's go. They need at least one, guy who could at least be a slide into a number 2 spot in that rotation, and add a couple more relievers, and they'd be good to go for another year. And that day's coming. As you know, AJ, used to be an annual figure at Twins Fest and the Winter Caravan. That's all coming up, so they'll be on the spot. Trust me. When these times come up here in the next couple of weeks, because after achieving what they did last year, ending an 18-game postseason losing streak, I think the fans are excited. I think they're engaged, and they want to see the Twins take the next step.
Do they need more important? What's more important to them? Somebody that can actually drive in 100 runs, or somebody that can actually play over 140 games in a season?
That's a good question. I would say run production would be the separator there over someone to be durable. But I mean, that's a fair question. Royce Lewis played half the season. They had a bunch of injuries during the year. They need a constant fixture in that lineup. Jorge Polanco, who may get traded. It may take a Jorge Polanco or Max Kepler package with one of their prospects to get the type of pitcher or extra hitter that they want. So I think they're looking for a production man. Ever since Nelson Cruz left, they really haven't had that presence in the 3 to 4 hole spot that can drive in a lot of runs. So I still think they missed that, and that's the type of guy they're going to be after if they can find it for a Thursday.
Is the Twins offseason a success if they get Rhys Hoskins?
No, I think in addition to Rhys Hoskins, they'd have to come up with another starting pitcher. Definitely. Sonny Gray, finishing the top 3 in Cy Young Award voting last year, had a great season. They're going to miss those innings. They're going to miss the high quality pitching that he offered. And they got to find someone who can fill in. Now, Bailey Ober will be a guy to slot into that rotation, but they're still going to need someone else. Louis Varland showed a lot of promise last year, had to go down for some fine tuning and came back. But Rocco Baldelli is in love with Varland as a reliever and may convert him to a relief arm where he throw 97, 98 coming out of the pen with some nasty stuff. So they need a starter, man. I think they'd be better off long-term if they got a starter instead of Hoskins. If it's either or I go for the pitcher, although Hoskins look good in the Twins uniform.
Okay, LaVelle, I hear what you're talking about, and you're talking about this. This reminds me of the old, like when Carl Polat's still on the Twins and we were playing in the Metrodome, and they were like, well, we can't even afford to buy you guys fleece jackets because you guys play inside. You have to buy them on your own. I mean, the Twins have money. I was there in the playoffs. They sell that place out. There's a lot of excitement for the Twins. Why won't they spend on these guys and go out and get a front line? Because the Central is there for the taking. They just need a piece or two.
Yeah, you're right. The thing that's scaring them, or that's what they're telling us, is that their TV contract is still up in the air for next year because they're part of that Diamond Sports Group, part of that Bally Sports Group that they don't have a contract for next year. So they're anticipating losing about $20 to $25 million in television revenue. And AJ, they've done a lot of cutting elsewhere. They've cut scouts. They've reduced their scouting network. They moved on from Billy Milos, who was there forever and has found a lot of the diamonds in the rough for them. He was let go after this year. They've been cutting in other areas of the organization. So I don't know. I think they knew this day was coming because when they agreed to bring back Carlos Correa, I think that pushed them to where they're they're still comfortable with that payroll, but not too much more. So they need some certainty here. There's going to be a hearing this week. Either there's going to be a hearing in bankruptcy court with Diamond Sports, or there's going to be an agreement between Major League Baseball and Diamond Sports where they just run it back one more year. That'd make a lot of people feel a lot better. But I know they're freaking out a little bit, man, because they're losing about 20 to 25 million in revenue that it's making them reluctant to spend on the free agent market. If you see them add a player, it'll probably be a trade more so than free agency.
Man, if the Pollads are so broke, they should sell the team, LaVelle. They should go out. If they're not making enough money, people have been saying this since I was there, and that was 25 years ago. The Pollads are so broke. They run it like they're so broke. They need to sell the team. But is that why they got rid of Dick Bremer? Rob Anthony's not back? I mean, what is happening in Twins land?
Yeah, they're making some, like I said, they're making some moves, and Bremer's being kicked over into some more of an ambassadorial role. But the Polak family, I think they've continued to strengthen their financial position. They, the one thing they did during the COVID year, they never laid off anybody, while other teams were laying off people. And I think the Pirates froze their employees' pension programs. The Twins didn't go that route; they kept their employees. But man, since then they've bought a couple other companies. They built a skyscraper in downtown Minneapolis. So they've got financial ability, and yeah, it makes you wonder what's it going to take for them to spend more money on payroll. But they have their limits to where they want to go, and I guess this past year is what their limit was. And it's frustrating for fans to see that, because they saw the success, they saw the packed stadiums, they made a brief run in the postseason, and they could take things one more step here. So this is when the whole cheap Pohlads thing rears his ugly head, and it's hard to defend them when they make these decisions and sit on a payroll like they are right now.
Especially with the team, I mean, like you said, breaking through that ceiling of the playoffs, like this is the time to strike. But you talk about the TV contract, and it's not just the Twins. There's plenty of teams. Even the world champion Rangers are talking about these TV contracts. Don't give me this idea that, one, they're not going to make money this year because of the TV contract, and two, they didn't see this coming. They just signed Correa last year. I'm sure they had to see this coming.
All these teams are making money, or they'd be selling these teams. And there's always a line of people who want to buy these clubs. So they've got each team has their own set of rules. I know the Rangers, their TV deal was $111 million last year, and the Twins was $54. But that hasn't stopped the Rangers from making moves. They did let some people go. I know Mitch Garver moved on to another team, and some other guys have moved on. But there's ways to do this. And the other thing too for the Twins is that it's not like their roster's got a lot of holes. They've got, like I said, they got a young core of people. If Byron Buxton stays in the lineup for 130 games next year, he's going to put up numbers. Correa can't be as bad as he was a year ago. The Twins offense picked up because the young kids like Julian and Ryan Jeffers behind the plate and Royce Lewis at third, all stepped up, and have another young guy, Alex Kirilloff and Matt Wallner. They don't, I'm not saying that they have an embarrassment of riches, but man, it's not like they have to rebuild their infield or find corner outfielders or get a closer and find a starter. I'm like, if you bring in another quality starter, you're ready to roll. And if you get Rhys Hoskins in to play first base, that's another plus as well. It's not like they need a lot of work here.
LaVelle, give us more on Byron Buxton right now. There's a lot of fans in our chat that are talking about him and wondering if you think that he's got a game plan that's going to enable him to play center field on a semi-regular basis for this team. I know it's so tough because he's a great guy. He's super talented, but you have to have a really legit insurance plan, not just backup option, just a plan for, is he in the lineup at all? Is he in center field? Is he out,
The plan is for him to play center. That's what he's working towards this offseason. We'll know more in a couple of weeks because the Twins have some of their pre-spring training events going on in town, so the players will be in town. I reached out to his camp at the end of last year, about a week after he had his latest knee surgery, and Buck told his people to tell me that his knee felt better immediately following that surgery than it did all the previous season. So that's a good starting point. And then he came to Minnesota before Thanksgiving, worked out, got checked out, and got cleared to go forward with his offseason completion of rehab and into baseball activities to get ready for spring training. So that's the last thing we've heard about Byron Buxton going into the new year. So all eyes will be on him at Twins Fest when he shows up, if he shows up, and in spring training, because if he's healthy, it's the lineup's totally different. And based on what we've seen, the growth that some of the young guys provided last year, if he can jump into the middle of that, the Twins offense would be even more robust than it was in 2023.
So what has to happen? He has to stay healthy, or Rocco has to push him, because we talk about this all the time. And I look at some OPS plus from Byron Buxton, and he had an MVP caliber 235 at bats in what season was that? 2021. So does Rocco need to just push him?
You baseball guys amaze me because I've had tendonitis in my knee before, in both knees, and just by standing, it drives me to the shit. You guys are able to play on these things, and I never take for granted how hard it is for you guys to play the game.
Liar.
It's hard.
Liar.
AJ, you have had open wounds in the locker room, in the clubhouse, all right? And I've questioned you about that. You have said, stop looking at my legs. I'm going to play today. And so I was like, I give you guys credit. You answer the bell. You take the post. Me just being a regular civilian, if I stand up for 20 minutes on a sore knee, it's killing me. So I can only imagine what you guys are going through. So as far as Rocco pushing Buck, I'm sure Buck pushed himself hard enough to try to make the postseason roster last season. It just didn't work out. So they think they got it figured out now. And Rocco's not the type of guy that puts his foot up too many players' ass. I think he trusts them to be professional and get ready for games the best way they see fit. But it'll be interesting to see how much they give Buxton this on his plate this spring training.
First off, I think we should make that a T-shirt. Stop looking at my leg. I'm playing today.
It's a true story. It's a true story.
It's very on brand. Trust me, you're not the first one with a great AJ story in the clubhouse. So my next question for you is their competition, because I think that's what drives the Twins, and it's what drove them last trade deadline. If you remember, LaVelle, they had a brilliant trade deadline. They did essentially nothing, which for the division was a huge win because the rest of the division essentially sold until the Guardians decided later on to kind of buy, but it was too late. So my point is, are the Twins not motivated? And that includes ownership, because they look around and say, these teams suck.
I think that goes into part of thinking as well. Maybe they need an antagonist to get them to behave a little more urgency. Cleveland's always a questionable one. They're about the same market size, had the same TV deal as the Twins last year. But it seems like Cleveland's always like subtracting, like in each of the last 3 or 4 years. Like last year, they traded Zach Plesac, right? Before the deadline. That was kind of a head scratcher at the time. So
you're saying for the Guardians, they traded Savali.
Yeah, Savali. That's right, Savali. There you go.
Savali to the Rays. That's like their number 2 or 3 starter, and they were like, "Okay, bye. We're gonna get a prospect."
Yeah. So Cleveland's done that consistently in recent years, and you could argue they had a bigger run than the Twins did when they dominated the Central. I think at least they've been to a World Series. So the White Sox were the big one too. The White Sox are just a mess now. They got to flush the toilet, as I like to say, and kind of clean out some crap from the roster and start moving forward, because they had a bunch of DH right field type guys or DH first baseman guys, and it seemed like there was a logjam there we need to break up. It would seem weird that they'd have to trade Dylan Cease in order to get better. That just kind of is a head scratcher to me. They should be keeping someone like him. Giolito didn't work out, but I give them credit because Giolito was demanding a big contract, and the White Sox weren't ready to go there, and he did not have a good season. So there's a lot of stuff going on with them, man. And eventually the Royals are going to do something here too. So I agree that being in the division that the Twins are in, it kind of benefits them playing the slow game. But I will say this: let's see what happens by spring training and see who they add. Because I've covered a team. They traded for Jake Odorizzi during spring training. The Kenta Maeda trade was consummated the day before camp opened. They made other moves like during camp to bring in players. So they like to operate late, and we'll see what they come up with this time.
I want your unbiased Minnesota freezing winter opinion on this one, okay? Luis Arraez or Pablo Lopez?
Pablo Lopez. I'll take the pitcher any day. And I love Luis Arraez. It's a great story. The Twins offered him $20,000 coming out of Venezuela, and he turned it down and had given up on his big league hope and went out with a buddy to hang out. When he came back to his house, this is like when he was 15, 16, the Twin scouts there going, "I found you another $10,000. Luis says, "Okay, I'll sign." and the next thing you know, Luis slowly hits his way into the majors. The Twins missed him. They could have used his on-base percentage. They could have used his contact hitting ability. But I think both teams benefit from that deal. The Marlins needed a bat. The Twins needed a guy they believed in. Pablo Lopez is clearly, the staff face of that rotation. And the way how hard it is to acquire and maintain and lock up starting pitching, it's at a premium in today's game. So they traded for Lopez. They locked him up. I think for the long term, it's probably the best move the Twins could have made.
Finally, first time in the history of the world, LaVelle, you and I agree on something. Pablo Lopez over Luis Arraez. Scott has a man crush on Luis Arraez, and I said Pablo Lopez for the Twins is a better fit for them, especially after they locked him up. And then we saw what he did for him last year as a pitcher, which leads me to my question is, I was there when the Twins lost to the Astros last year, but they finally got off the schneid. They finally broke the curse of not being able to win a playoff game. They finally won a playoff series in the first time in over 20 years. Why is it kind of goes back to ownership for me? Why is ownership not pushing more in? I get the TV stuff, but man, you're on the brink here. And that Astros series was closer than people I think realize, but they were on the verge of possibly going to the LCS, maybe the World Series, if they could just add a couple pieces. I mean, is there not enough fan pressure? Is there not enough people telling the Pohlads and Thad Levine and Derek Falvey, let's go for it?
There is a groundswell from fans upset, and they're despondent over the decisions to let Sonny Gray walk without trying to keep him or not giving Kenta Maeda another shot. Fans are, trust me, I get emails. I get stopped on the street when I'm covering other sporting events in town. And I was at the Wild hockey game the other day, and someone was like, why are the Twins not adding anybody? This is their chance to have a window of opportunity. So it's I advocated for it at the end of the regular season because I heard rumblings about the TV deal affecting their free agent decisions. And I was like, you can't do this. You got the fans interested again. You want to give them some hope. And the other thing too, AJ, is too big when it's easy to project your revenue when you know what's coming in, and group sales is a big thing during the off season. And if you make a couple like big or at least solid free agent moves or player acquisitions, people from North Dakota, South Dakota are going to call and say, hey, 40 of us are coming on July 18th. And group sales help with cost certainty. And I just think sometimes they miss out or they ignore the benefits of being proactive and taking big swings during the wintertime instead of waiting for spring to come. So I trust me, I hear it frequently when I'm out and about in town.
Nobody recognizes you. So let's just say that, okay?
Hey,
let's just establish that first of all.
I'm a big man in town, and you know that literally and figuratively.
Oh, okay. All right. You're no Jim Suhan, okay?
Wow. Now, see, that's a shot.
That's all right. So, LaVelle, you've been tweeting a lot about football since we're in the NFL playoffs. Who do you want to win the Super Bowl, and who do you got going to the Super Bowl since your Vikings are out?
I love watching San Francisco's offense. Brock Purdy's a functional quarterback, but as a guy who's a fantasy football champion like I am, I know the benefit of yards after the catch, and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle are the personification of yak. And I love the plays they make in the open field. You got Christian McCaffrey there as well. I just think they're an entertaining team. Having been born in Chicago, and it was instilled with me as soon as I came out of my mother's womb that I was supposed to hate the Packers at every turn. I want the Packers to get destroyed next week. So I like to see the San Francisco 49ers play the Baltimore Ravens in the Super Bowl and have the 49ers prevail.
Okay. You're a conspiracy theorist because the colors, have you heard the colors thing where the purple and red, so they're saying it's supposed to be the Ravens and the Niners in the Super Bowl? Have you heard all that stuff?
I have not heard that. So
for the last 6 years, the colors of the Super Bowl logo has been the teams that have played in the Super Bowl. So everyone says the NFL is scripted, so they're saying the Niners are red and the Ravens purple, and that's the colors of the logo are purple and red.
How come the Vikings didn't get in then?
Well, because they don't have a quarterback. That's why.
Good point. Hey, I had cousins of Hawkins in one of my leagues, and basically the season ended when they both got hurt.
That's why you're not a champion.
I am in one league.
There you go. All right, AJ, you happy? LaVelle, by the way, AJ's next life, he wants to be a football studio host. So he's working hard. That. Was he good?
Yeah, I can see AJ as that, man, definitely. AJ, didn't you play football in high school at Dr. Phillips?
No, hell no. No.
What position would you have played?
Oh, I would have been a tight end. I would have been Hawkinson just running fools over out there. Are you kidding me?
Okay, all right. See,
I mean, I weigh enough. I could add about 30 pounds and probably play left tackle, but I don't get to hit anybody enough.
Oh shit.
Epic. Well, LaVelle, it was awesome having you on. We'll obviously, post some of these clips and plug your Twitter and where they can catch your articles. Great to catch up with you. And, hopefully you can write a story about a real signing at some point.
Thanks. I appreciate that very much. I think we're all waiting for that moment where we could write about a meaningful acquisition. Meanwhile, I'm just have to cherish the time I spent with AJ today, just like old times with us in the clubhouse.
Might be the highlight of the
Twins Fest. Get ready.
Oh, okay. Bring it. Let's go.
Thank you, LaVelle. Great talking to you.
All right. See ya.
Cheers. If you want to follow LaVelle at LaVelle Neal, his name, Star Tribune sports columnist, obviously you can get a little dose of football too, but there's not really much to say about the Twins right now.
Nothing's
happening. Ridiculous. I mean, they got to a great point. I like the roster, but they are looking around at the rest of their division, and that's why they're operating this way. The thing is, does that win you a World Series?
No.
Were they better than the Astros?
No.
Okay. Are they better now than, 4 or 5 teams in the American League alone? No. So
maybe they don't think
cool.
Maybe they don't think there's enough out there to add to it to make them better. I don't know.
There's so many free agents. There's no one out there that can make the Twins better. I mean, there's a ton, and they just lost a lot of pitching.
Yeah, they lost Gray, who was their number one, right? And they lost Maeda, who was really good for him as a swing guy. And those guys are hard to replace. I know they love Louis Varland. I know Michael Ober. I know, they're hoping Joe Ryan takes the next step. And listen, Pablo Lopez is great, but listen, they have enough to win the division. But other than that, is that good? That's not good enough for me if I'm a Twins fan. We've won the division a million times and haven't done shit since 1991, right? We haven't done anything. 2002, we made the LCS, lost to the Angels. After that, they went 20-plus years and didn't win a series in the postseason. Didn't barely win a game. So to me, it's not enough if I'm a Twins fan.
I mean, maybe they think, well, we got Correa. We got Correa and it was scary. His ankle could be bad or whatever. To me, you got him because that was signifying the beginning of you making a 3-4 year run. Their bullpen is unbelievable. A scary, scary bullpen that people started to notice in July. And that will carry them. I mean, they have guys that get on base, but I just think it's just confusing to me. It's confusing, the mindset, and we talk about this twice daily for different teams. You wonder what they're thinking because they have the pieces. They have the pieces, dominate this division for 3 or 4 years. Get these fans out all year long. Right now is the time to strike. And to me, I'm confused why they don't.
They said if they got a new ballpark, they were going to spend bigger.
They did spend bigger.
That way. Yeah,
they spent bigger.
And now they're going smaller.
They did, but not really.
But now just keep going. It's like you're getting to the end of the hand and you're like, you know what? I've put enough in. We'll hope my hand beats your hand. Like, keep pushing the envelope. This is the time. Look back after 4 years and you look back and you say, kind of missed that opportunity. Or, hey, we did everything we could. It's hard to win the World Series, yes. But do what you can when you have the pieces that you have.
But why couldn't they bring back Sonny Gray, Kratz? Why couldn't they bring back Sonny Gray? It's not like he signed for 5 years, $200 million. I mean, he signed a very reasonable deal to go to St. Louis. He seemed to enjoy his time in Minnesota. Why couldn't they sign him back?
I'm not saying they couldn't. But this is what they've been doing. They've been signing guys for their 1 year piece, and then they're like, we'll see you. Now they got Correa back, so maybe they feel like they reached on Correa. I don't know. But essentially you would have Pablo for $21 million coming up. Not this year. I think he's still below $10 million for this year, but then he has like 3 years of $21 million. It's essentially what you're giving Sonny. Like, the guy did well for you. He clearly fit into your system and connected with guys, and he pitched well in the ballpark. What do you give it? 5 homers, 7 homers the whole year? Like, there's value there. To me, I'm confused. Maybe they don't go in on Montgomery, but if you can spend under $100 million on a starting pitcher, every team can afford that.
But the Gray contract makes sense, AJ. That's exactly the money that they're trimming. I mean, they were about a record 155 last year for payroll, and this year they're going to be in like the 125 to 140 range. So 155, subtract 25 from Gray, and then you get to their 130 number that they feel comfortable with, that they're still able to profit massively and make the playoffs and maybe have a division series, couple home games, make 10 mil per home game, and they can share $20 million at the end of the year and say, good job, we won the division and we got bounced in the DS again.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's my way to go, guys. But they're counting on Chris Paddock to come back, obviously. They're counting on Louis Varland. They're counting on Joe Ryan to be good again, better than what he was, because the second half last year he was awful with home runs. Pablo's great for him. Ober, what's Ober going to be for him? Is he able to do it for a whole year? Because he kind of went up and down a little bit. But my thing is, it goes back to this for me. I remember when I was playing for the Twins, this is 20 plus years ago. Carl Pohlad was the owner. Jim Pohlad is now the owner of his son. And he sold his Pepsi distributorship for $400 or $500 million while we were there. And then he's like, oh, we don't have the money to go sign one run reliever for $1 million. And you're like, wait a minute here. You just signed a contract for $500 million, let's say, but you can't put $1 million. And then at the same time, they came out with the fleece hoodies, right? And we had to buy them Mike Fetters bought them for us because they're like, oh, we can't afford them. You guys play in a dome. You don't need them. We're like, yeah, we play 81 games outside where we will use them. So it's just things like that. As when you look at it from a fan's perspective, it's the nickel and diming. I think that's why people fell so in love with the Padres in San Diego, right? They fell in love with the Tigers when Illich was going for all those years. They fall in love with these teams, the Rangers, right? The Rangers went out and everyone's like, what are you doing with Seager and Simeon and DeGrom and Evaldi and all these guys? And then boom, they win the World Series. And everyone's like, oh my God, the Rangers are the greatest things going, right? So I think when teams finally get to that point, it's what we continue to talk about. Oh, teams talk themselves out of free agency. Well, if you're the Twins and you say, all right, we can sign a pitcher, a quality major league pitcher, let's say for $15 million a year. I'm just throwing numbers out there, right? And I can get another bat it's not a middle of the order bat, but it's in position of need for another $5. There's $20 million we're spending for the next 3 years, okay? Does that put us into the division title for the next 3 years? More than likely, yes. Now, will that help us get to the next round? Possibly, yes. You never know. But this also, then if things go really well, you can make more moves to help you get to the World Series. So to me, it's more about not going all in and not giving you every resource you have. And I know they're going to claim budget, and I know the Twins and every other team say we're given this number, but there's always a chance you can stretch that in some way. And I just wish teams more would take advantage of opportunities, like you guys said, of having the window and going all in and going for it.
I like the fact that you didn't get your fleeces in the big leagues. That's unbelievable because I remember minor leaguers who played for the Twins, they said if you got a pair of shorts and a T-shirt, and if you sweated through those and you needed another one, you got another one. They put it in your locker, and then you got a bill at the end of the 2 weeks or month, whatever it was. But earlier you said something. You said, yeah, they might still win this division. I don't know. Maybe the Tigers have done a little bit more to bump themselves up, especially the way that some of their key players played as the season continued. You're going to need a lot from Torkelson. You're going to need, extra from Green, but they've added pieces that have supplemented what they already had. Is Javi Baez going to need to be better than he was? Absolutely. But they have bona fide stars that they brought in, and now they have some of their youth. They've at least made the moves to enhance their roster. They haven't gotten the Sonny Gray. They haven't gotten to Jordan Montgomery, but they've made more moves, and the Twins weren't that far out out in first place.
I agree. I think the Tigers could be a problem this year. I would love if they did one more thing.
Royals have made some moves too.
Royals, I didn't even.
They're not as easy of a dub now. I want to backtrack for one quick sec. I'm sorry. So you get one top, one bottom, and then after that, you have to pay the billionaire Pohlads for clothing if you're part of the org.
Yeah,
did I get that right?
Yep.
In the minors. Yeah, where you're poor as
clearly
hell.
It was going on in the big leagues too.
Okay.
We never had to pay for anything in the big leagues. We just asked, because all these teams had these. It was like right when the fleeces came out, and everyone's like, "Man, these are unbelievable. Why can't we get it?" So we went to the equipment guy and said, "Hey, we want these. Why can't we get them? Not in the budget." And we're like, and he's like, "You play indoors," and we're like, "Yeah, but we also it's 70 degrees in here, and they're we'll cut the sleeves. That'll be great." And he's like, "Nope." And then he's like, "If you want them, you can buy them yourself." So Mike Fetters went out and bought the whole team. He got everyone's sizes, and he ordered them for everybody.
That's wild. That's wild.
That's freaking wild. I can't believe it.
Listen, I came up with the Twins. Okay, I love the Twins organization. Okay, I'll say that. There's a lot of people that are still there that I still love to death. Okay, I mean Dave St. Peter was there when I was there. He was the president. Mike Herman, the traveling secretary. He hates that I call him that, so he's the traveling secretary. Dustin Morris was there. I mean, there's a ton of guys. The equipment people are all there. It's a great organization. The people that work there are still all the same. It's a great organization. Okay. The thing is Twins fans and friends that I know that still live in the Twin Cities that are Twins fans, they just want more. They just want more from their to take the next step, right? To throw another. So you said, okay, the Tigers are going to maybe catch him, right? Well, let's say they added another really quality starter, another bat. Will the Tigers still catch him? Probably not, right? Because Correa is not going to have as bad of a year. A lot of these young guys are going to be better. Kirilloff hopefully stays healthy. Buxton stays healthy. A full year of Royce Lewis. It's a different team and different organization. So that's my point. Is I just want them to just go all in and say, all right, fuck it, we're going for it.
How many times are we going to say Buxton stays healthy? Like, I mean, I started looking at it more. He played 140 games his third year in the big leagues. Since then, he hasn't gone above 100. Is it okay to just say, you know what, he's not going to? And do you think the Twins have done that? Because I don't know that his offensive production just at DH, kind of hamstrings you a little bit. But I how many times can we say it? I get it. Like Giancarlo Stanton is another example of a guy that, he just needs to stay healthy. Mike Trout needs to stay healthy. He's been hurt the last 3 years. You're talking about like the best player in the game at one point and the MVP. Buxton hasn't ever stayed healthy. And like, is there a time when we just say he won't? Like kind of like a Clayton Kershaw, like you're going to get 20 to 22 games out of him and it's going to be awesome 22 games, but that's it. Like we can't even expect more.
That's how it is with many pitchers right now. I mean, quality over quantity. Yeah, there are players that are quality over quantity. I mean, I think the Braves might be looking at Chris Sale potentially that way. You hope that he can make full slate of starts, but I think if Chris Sale makes 20 starts for the Braves this year and then he's healthy for the playoffs and he shoves for them, they would consider that a massive win.
But
right?
he has stayed healthy. We're talking about Buxton, it's like saying This guy, he can hit 40 home runs. Okay, but I'm looking at it and he's only ever hit 32. I'm not talking about Buxton. When we talk about guys who can hit 40 home runs, like Buxton has just never stayed healthy.
Neither is Mitch Garver. He just was the biggest signing, I think, of the offseason for the Mariners, There's guys like that, quality over quantity. I think some teams value that a lot. Also, when are they healthy? That's the key, right, for Buxton. Is he good to go for the postseason if this team thinks they're going to roll right through? That's the X factor. Is he not just good to go, but is he, prime? Is he ready that way? So just something to keep in mind. I was just looking. Wait, are we trying to play this game with Ross or before we bring on Ross? With Ross. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's bring on Ross Stripling right now. Before we get to that game, though, just to continue our conversation a little bit. Ross, how you doing, man? And why do you think the offseason has really come to a halt here? We've been kicking around the fact that, the excuse du jour this offseason has been, the TV money for owners. It's the only thing I rely on in life. I can't spend any money now.
Well, for one, what's up, guys? I'm actually not driving this time, so don't worry. I'm parked and I'm going to be safe. It's a good question, man. When the Ohtani domino fell, all of us, I think, expected many dominoes to fall very quickly after, and it just hadn't gone that way. I do think the TV money probably has to be taken into account, but it certainly isn't the end all be all. So I don't know. At the end of the day, there's a few really top level free agents out there, talking maybe Bellinger, Snell, Chapman, maybe in an echelon by themselves. I apologize if I'm missing anybody. And I think that there's a lot of teams bidding for their services, and I think they're just kind of able to sit back and make those teams keep bidding the price up. So props to them for holding steady. That's what I think is happening. I have no inside information. But yeah, it's been slow. I was able to see Justin Turner maybe like 10 days ago, and he signed like early December last year, and you could tell it was starting to get to him a little bit as far as wait to see where he's going to go and starting to get a little antsy. But yeah, it's just been slow. I don't have the answers. Everyone's asking me about it. Like, I know, like, it's, you become the CBA guy like I was for the Blue Jays, and people expect me to have answers and stuff. I got nothing. You guys probably know more than I do.
Ross, is that why you picked up your option? Is that why you were like, nope, I don't want to be no free agent this offseason? Is that why you were like, yeah, I'll stay right where I am in my little San Francisco cocoon?
I'd like to say that's why, but it also has to do with my ERA starting with a 5. So I think it makes sense for me to opt in there and go make good on that contract, pitch well in a Giants uniform, and maybe have at it again next year.
All right, so you were a guy that was brought in last year as a starter. Now they're bringing in Jordan Hicks as a starter. What do you think? What do you think when you hear a bullpen guy is coming in as a starter? Do you think, oh, he's got an electric arm, he can totally do it? Or are you sitting there going, that's interesting. Maybe they kind of see him as like a bulk starter instead of a starter.
Yeah, if you would have asked me last year with, the Gabe Kapler regime, I would have said more of the latter of what you just said. A guy that I don't see getting more than 15 outs. But now we got Bob Melvin and Brian Price in a different regime here that's a little bit more old school. And Bob Melvin is known for letting his starters ride. So, I would like to think if they say they're going to build him up as a starter, they're going to expect him to get 18, 21 outs. I mean, the upside of his stuff, if you can keep him healthy as a starter, that's pretty incredible. I believe he's given it a shot before. I'm not sure, how it went, if he got hurt or if they just realized he's so electric at the back end of a bullpen. The Giants have a history of righting the ship on some pretty cool arms. Carlos Rodon, Kevin Gausman, some others. Andrew Bailey left and went to the Red Sox, but we still got a lot of our back end kind of behind the scene pitching guys there to be there and help Hicks out. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like. He's a big, strong kid. I got to think that he can handle the workload, but until you do it, you don't really know. So it'll be fun to watch the transition.
Ross, have they talk to you about your role? Are you going to be a starter next year? Are you penciled into the starting 5, or are you going to be kind of the swing man?
You know what? I don't know. No one's told me one thing or another. If you go look at the way our roster is configured right now, it's basically Logan Webb healthy at the top, and then Robbie Ray, Alex Cobb are hurt. I'm not sure when they're planning on coming back. Kyle Harrison's just a kid, but he's got talent through the roof. And after that, there's a lot of us that are kind of could be starters, could be bulk guys, could do a little bit of the back and forth thing. I think last year I let it affect me a little bit too much. Honestly, really not happy about the way that I let it kind of rock my world. I expected to be a starter last year. That's part of the reason I signed there, and it just didn't go that way. This year I'm going to go in with the same mindset I had the first 7 years of my career, which is if you're throwing well, they're going to get you the ball. Who cares about role? They want guys to eat innings and get outs, and if you're throwing the ball well, they'll make it happen. So I'm just going to go with that mentality and see how it shakes out. Do
you like not knowing? Because you seem firm in your belief in like what your mindset and mentality is going to be. But would you like it if they called you? If Bo Mel was like, Ross, hey, this is what we're thinking. We're going to do. We're going to move you to the starter role, but we understand if. Or would you rather just be like, nah, off season, I'm going to work so that I can throw 180 innings and take care of the kiddos?
Yeah, I think you have to have the mentality that you're going to log innings like that. I think you have to, if that is potentially going to be your role, you have to build up as if you're going to make 30 starts and mentally and physically prepare for that, because that is a workload unlike any others. I haven't done it. I mean, the most innings I've thrown in the big leagues is like 130, So, but I'm always preparing to, this is going to be the year that I make 30 starts and eat up innings like that. And then you make changes as it comes. But I think that I would always like to know. I do think the best 2 years I've had in my career has been 1 year as a Dodger, 1 year as a Blue Jay, where I knew they were going to give me runway as a starter. And I had a good year. That was 2018 and 2022. So, I would always love it if someone come and said, Strip, you're a starter. We see you as a starter. You're only going to be a starter. That's how I thought last year was going to go. But I do think I perform better or perform well when you're on edge, right? When you're feeling like you're competing for innings, you're competing for role and competing for spots. That always brings the best out in you. It's competition, right? So I think there's pros and cons to both.
Do you have conversations about this in spring training once you get there? Are there conversations before you get there? Are these combos with manager Bob Melvin, who's new, taking over? Are they with more of a pitching coach or someone in the pitching department?
Yeah, I'd say it's more in the pitching department. Right when we hired Bob, he called me, as I imagine he called pretty much everyone down the 40-man, introduced himself. We got to chum it up a little bit, talk about, people that we've crossed with, Sean and I, Matt Chapman, Michael Waka, et cetera. Instantly hit it off. He seems awesome. And then after that, you really start to hone in with the new pitching staff. We kept one guy, JP Martinez from last year's staff, but now we got Brian Price and some others. So really getting to know those guys. They're getting a feel for me and my arsenal, how I prepare, along with everyone on the staff. So, but no, I would say nobody's come out to me and said, like, Strip, you're going to be a starter. In fact, I even kind of went out of my way to tell Price that, last year, kind of what I just told you guys, I wasn't happy with the way I handled myself. This year, I'm coming in with a better mentality, and you're not going to hear me bitch and complain about anything. I'm ready to take the ball whenever you need me, and let's go win some games. So, choosing to start with the clean slate with this new staff and try and forget about some of the stuff from last year.
That's cool. I like that. So another question for you on your new skipper. When you spoke to him, did you maybe see if he's got a chip on his shoulder? I know someone that's pretty close with him, and I know he's been in the game for a while, but he's part of a San Diego team that had a pretty good-looking roster. There was some internal strife, to say the least. I think if anyone, I'm sure you paid attention at least a little bit to an article or two here and there with AJ Preller and Bob Melvin just flat out not getting along. So do you think, even though he's so accomplished, he'll have a chip on his shoulder this year and be like, screw this, I want to win the division and beat the Padres?
Yeah, definitely. I think no doubt. You could tell he was extremely motivated when I talked to him. I really liked our conversation. But also, he's a Bay Area guy. He played baseball at Cal. He's bringing, some of his longtime kind of left and right hand guys and bench coach, pitching coach, and the rest of his staff. And I think he's like viewing it as, I'm coming home to win games. I'm coming to where I was born and raised and learned the game. And this is his dream job. And I think he's ready to make the most of it. And yeah, it just happens to be that the Padres are in division. And I'm sure that's motivation enough to win some games and put a good team on the field and try and make some noise in his first year. I think that we have a chance to be pretty good. And I think, Farhan is obviously very motivated to go add some pieces. So I think he's certainly not done working. So it'll be interesting to see as the roster really comes together here in these next few weeks leading up to spring.
All right. Let's say you put yourself in some of your ex-teammates' shoes. You're talking about JT, not signed yet. If you're not signed yet, what's your mindset? We talked about this earlier. I never went through big league free agency, minor league free agency. If you're not signed yet, you better start figuring out a construction job. But what's your mindset, or what's the mindset of, a guy like JT that you talk to?
Personally, I'm stressed. There's no doubt. I'm stressed. I mean, we are like within a month of heading to Arizona for spring training. You're telling me I don't know if I'm going to Arizona or Florida, man, I'd be stressed. And on top of that, like, I'm married with 2 kids, that's a whole different weight on your shoulders of taking care of them and setting them up and getting them to a place where they feel comfortable. That's a whole different list of responsibilities that some guys have, some don't. I don't think JT's worried. At the end of the day, I think he knows he's probably going to be hitting third for a pretty good team somewhere. So I imagine he's hanging in there okay. I think it's just kind of the stress of the unknown, right? The little bit of anxiety. Most guys have their spring training housing. Most guys are starting to, chumming up with new teammates or new staff like I am and start getting the ball rolling. You feel like baseball's right around the corner. I know where I'm going. I'm excited. They still don't have a clue where they're going. So I think, it depends on your situation, like JD Martinez, Jorge Soler, JT, like they're going to be hitting DH somewhere, hitting homers, doing what they do. But some of these other guys in the middle ground who maybe don't know if they're getting split contracts, maybe still hoping for a big league contract, all that kind of stuff. It's stressful, man. I'd be feeling it for sure.
Ross, you're talking about the stressful situation. You had the Giants last year. They had Gabe Kapler, who we all know kind of handles pitchers a little bit differently than like Bob Melvin and Brian Price in the old school way. Is it going to be a relief to you, whatever happens, whether you're a starter, a bulk guy, whatever your role is on the team? if they come to you and say, let's say you're a month into spring training, they come to you and say, you know what, Ross, pitch your ass off in spring training. You're going to be our fourth starter, our fifth starter, whatever it is. You're going to be a starter on this team. Won't that be such a relief compared to what you've gone through last year, where you're like, well, man, I'm going to start, but they're only going to give me maybe 6 hitters. And then the 2 days later, oh, man, I might come in the third inning. And then I might come in the seventh for 3 innings. And then the next time I might start and bounce you around. Isn't it so much better as a player to know where you stand and go from there?
Yeah, I think everyone would take the stability of that, right? I mean, it just no doubt. When you know you're going to get some runway as an everyday player or as a starter or as whatever your role might be in the bullpen, and you can totally tailor your routine physically and mentally around that role, that's a huge deal. That takes a lot of burden off your shoulders of just the unknown of kind of the stuff we were even just talking about. I totally believe that. But I also think kind of what I touched on earlier as well is the unknown can bring out your competitive juices, right? Where maybe you are in a role where you feel like you want to do something a little different, or you want to earn more innings or whatever. And you're maybe a little bit motivated out there on the mound than you were. So it kind of pros and cons. I feel like I've already said this a little bit, but yes, I would take the stability any day. Like I said, I think that's the 2 best seasons I've ever had in the big leagues is when I felt that stability. But I also made a living doing the back and forth for some really good Dodger teams where I just ate the last 3 innings of blowout games. And that was a lot of value to those teams. So, you got to kind of find your little niche in the big leagues, what keeps you there, and earn extra at-bats and innings along the way.
Ross, I don't think we've had you on since Yamamoto signed. So just wanted to get your thoughts on what you saw with that contract, actually including the perks, because, we're used to like, oh, the suite on the road and maybe, some tickets. And for him, I think he has a personal trainer, a physical therapist. There's like maybe 3 or 4 kind of full timers besides the translator, of course, that he brings to the mix too. So your overall thoughts on how the Dodgers did there with landing the top free agent starter on the market?
Yeah, wow. You know what? I actually didn't know that about all the staff that he brought. I've played with some really elite Asian players, and they do usually have, a physical therapist, a translator, maybe a strength coach. So that is not abnormal. Now, 4 or 5 is more than I've seen. But honestly, those guys end up being the best because they just have a totally different like regimen and stuff that they believe in. Kikuchi used to have a guy that would put like this crazy little machine on his head that I think could like spike up his energy or bring down his energy. Just like some of the stuff you see that those guys do is incredible. But as far as what the Dodgers did, I mean, the way I look at it is they're just kind of going full villain mode in a way. Like they've always had the payroll, but they've done an unbelievable job of drafting and developing talent. I think that World Series team had something like 16 homegrown Dodgers on it. But now it's Freddie, it's Mookie, it's Shohei, and it's Yamamoto, and they're coming for everybody, and it's time to win. And so props to them for going to make it happen. I'm anxious to see it. At the end of the day, I believe the Yankees said, like, how can we give him Garrett Cole money when he hasn't thrown a pitch in the big leagues? But the Dodgers went and did it. So, the stuff obviously speaks for itself. And until we see how it plays in the big leagues, which I think it'll play just fine. But until then, we'll see, man. He's in division, so I'm going to see plenty of both of them. So it's going to be wild.
All right. Well, you're seeing one of your ex-teammates coming back, and Robbie Ray. What can the Giants expect? Not from necessarily him as a person, but expect partway through the season coming back from a Tommy John when the Giants, because this is the time of year when the Giants, they're a World Series contender. The season will tell you if you are or you aren't. What can they expect when this team is 1 game out of the playoffs and nipping at the Dodgers' heels, and then they pick up Robbie Ray?
Yeah, I would treat it as it's a dynamite trade deadline acquisition because I think that's a little bit of his timetable, somewhere around the All-Star break maybe. So if you kind of look at it that way, you're going to get a guy who is going to be chomping at the bit to get back out there with electric stuff, 2 years removed from a Cy Young and fresh. And yeah, coming off of TJ is always a little bit wacky, but man, the way that he just turns and grunts and comes at you 110% every pitch. I got to watch it firsthand for 2 years. It's a blast to watch him. So I would look at it that way. We're gonna inject a Cy Young into the rotation around the All-Star break into a team that has playoff aspirations, I assume. So I think it's gonna be a huge deal to get him around that time.
All right, Ross, we're going to try a little game. It's pretty simple, called Two Truths and a Lie. So we'll see if we can pull this off here. It's nothing crazy. It's baseball related. There we go. Let's try it out. Ross is a trooper, so I'm just going to assume you're okay with us trying this out. So we'll read a few facts and we'll see how Kratz and AJ do, I guess, and then you can reveal the answer. So here, I'll read the three. Number one, didn't pitch in high school until his senior year. Number two, senior year of high school, Ross went 14-0 with a 1.60 in 107 innings. Number three, Ross played cornerback in high school, winning the Texas 5A state title and earning first-team all-state honors. Raise your hand if you would like to pick out where the lie is in those three statements. AJ.
I'm going the cornerback. He's too tall to play cornerback.
Okay. Kratz?
I mean, that's the only one that I'm saying because the other two kind of match each other. So I'm going to go.
But do you feel like it could be a trick? And I didn't look for the answer yet, but do you feel like it could be a trick with the senior year of high school thing? Like not pitching until then?
It could
be. No, because he told us that. He already told us that he didn't pitch till his senior year. So he already told us that. I know that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the other interviews. So
right,
the
Ross.
cornerback. I mean, I think you could be a cornerback. You look more like a running back to me, but
really? Running back?
Well, first off,
how tall are you, Ross?
I'm 6'3". Yeah, I was a baby giraffe in high school. I couldn't. I wasn't a corner. I tried to play some receiver. I went to a Friday Night Lights type high school. We were really good, and I do have a couple rings, which is cool. But I wasn't a major contributor to those teams. Yeah, definitely. The football one is spot on. That cornerback was not in my future for sure.
I'm gonna say receiver though. 6'3". Kind of lanky. I would say wide receiver, not running back. AJ, it's kind of too tall to be a running back.
I said running back.
I didn't say running back.
You're
crazy.
I'm so sorry.
You need to pay attention more, Scott.
Confuse my catchers with their backwards caps. But good stuff. All right, AJ, what do you got?
I got a question. He's got his A&M sweatshirt on. So are you happy with Mike Elko as your new coach since we're on the football kick today?
Yeah, I am, man. I think he was the right call. We don't need to get too much into Aggie talk. I'm an Aggie and a Cowboy fan, so that's like two of the worst things you can be right now. Yeah, so he was the right call. You know, Aggies, man, we're like rich in history, and you got to kind of be an Aggie to coach at A&M, and you know, he has the pedigree for that, and he's out there recruiting his tail off. We got Texas and OU joining the SEC, so it's a big year coming up for us where we got to stay competitive. I think he was the right call. We could have made a bigger splash, I don't know, with Kingsbury or Deion Sanders or something, but I don't think it would have felt right. I think he's the guy for the job.
All right, since you're a Cowboys fan, now I have two quick ones. Did the Eagles make it farther in the playoffs because they played last night and the Cowboys lost Sunday?
I've never heard of that one before. No, they did not. In the history books, that will definitely not be a thing. And the Cowboys won the division despite the Eagles starting 10-1. So I think our season, though also depressing as the Eagles, will go down as a slightly better season.
Okay, that's fair. It's the smartest kid in dumb school. But I gotta say we had Jack Flaherty on, and the first thing I noticed when he first came in, Jack Flaherty was on. And he was trying to kind of move his head to cover up the headrest because he was in his Lamborghini Urus. I don't even know how you say it. But don't sleep on Ross's flex. Okay, that Nuna car seat you got back there.
Oh yeah, baller. Can you see it?
That's like dad balls.
My camera's. Oh yeah, there we go.
Ooh.
That's a.
What would be great is if there's
if you know.
What would be great is if my son was sitting in it and I was just making him listen to this the whole time. That'd be the expert dad move right there.
Yeah. And then Ross, you'd turn back and go, "I got you a Nuna. You're gonna enjoy it."
Yeah, he doesn't even know.
Yeah,
I like it. Well, Ross, great catching up with you as always, dude. Keep crushing it. Enjoy the off season, and we'll talk to you in a few weeks.
Yeah, you guys as well. Keep up the good work. See y'all soon.
Thank you. Cheers, Ross. Ross Stripling, San Francisco Giants, with us on FTLIVE. And actually, the San Francisco Giants are our team of the day for your BetMGM World Series odds. Little look from last year. They were plus 5,000 at the beginning of the season. They played some ball. They were hanging, especially in July, plus 3,300. I mean, I feel like we've done this quite frequently, and yes, some of it has to do with the market, but Erik Kratz, trivia question. What did the San Francisco Giants, as a playoff contender at the time, do at the trade deadline?
Oh my gosh.
It's really tough, okay?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It was a standard Gabe Kapler season. Like,
it's not Gabe Kapler's fault. That's Farhan Zaidi and ownership's fault for not doing anything at the trade deadline. Stop it.
It's a Gabe Kapler type of season. He did the same thing in Philly. Yes, he did the same. He did. Look at that. Look at that bobblehead that AJ's got. He did one knee, AJ? I like it. I love one knee, AJ.
Staring into my own eyes. Oh,
but he has the greatest first half of a season. Phillies, 2 years in a row. Great first half. Crash. Farhan was like, nope, Gabe's going to run this team into the ground. I'm not trading anybody.
He wears the pitchers out, man. He wears his pitchers out, Kratz. You know what? But again, it goes back to me. Guys, not know. We just asked Ross about it. You don't know your role, so you're pitching here and there, and you're trying to use openers 3 out of 5 days, and you're trying to piece together 9 innings. You're trying to do this. You're trying to reinvent the wheel, and you're trying to. Guys get worn out. I mean, they do. Unless you have incredible depth like the Dodgers usually do, or the Rays, who every guy they seem to call up just seems to fit in and fit perfectly where they want them. It is really, really hard to go and win like that.
Yep.
I'll tell you what was difficult. Their offense was disgusting. It was so bad in the second half of the season. Also on the year, their offense was 24th in runs scored. You know, they never have that like super legit power bat. They didn't try to get anybody, so they need star power.
And they won the K-prop bet a lot for us.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, BetMGM, it was the Twins and the Giants, baby. Who's pitching against those two teams? Oh, that's my K-prop for the day. That won more than it lost.
Take me over. That was my second half.
That's right. Both of you guys picking on the teams that fell apart, you know, on offense. I mean, obviously, the Twins actually turned it around a little bit in the second half of the season with their offense.
Not strikeouts.
No, they still struck out a ton. That's true. Yeah. But come on, San Francisco, you're a playoff contender, and then you're not going to do anything because you're too scared to shed a prospect or two. It's not like every team was asking for Kyle Harrison or, or Matos or something like that. Like there's other dudes on the team, you know, kind of a lower end prospect to do absolutely nothing like we've talked about. What message does that send your team? That says, not this year, guys. Sorry, we don't see it.
Did they get Harrison?
Who are they going to get? Who are they going to get? Though?
Kyle Harrison was in their system. They called him up.
Who are they going to go get?
Last trade deadline?
Mm-hmm. That would have made him better than the Dodgers.
I mean, I use the same name for every team. Jordan Montgomery would have been nice.
Luis Arraez. He didn't help their offense. Realistic. Jordan Montgomery didn't help their offense.
Offensively, who would have helped? I mean,
to me, you don't upgrade your offense in San Francisco. Year in and year out, they're going to lead. They're going to either win 4-3 games or lose 3-2. Like, it's just like that stadium does not allow you to create an offensive juggernaut. Whether or not they pay for him or not, what year have they been an offensive juggernaut? Even when they were really good, Buster Posey would drive in a run to right field and they would win 1-0. They pitched.
Okay, but it would be nice to hit a little bit. I mean, come on. And didn't they have the 1 year where they kind of shot up homer-wise? What was it, maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, the year they won 100 games.
Was it the 100-plus year?
Mm-hmm. Lightning in a bottle. They also had Barry Bonds for a long time and didn't win the World Series either.
Yeah, but they were good. I mean, they were a playoff team with the Cyborg. So, I don't know. I mean, just want to see a little more aggressiveness at the trade deadline. And if not, this is the team that should just be sweeping dudes up at some point on the free agent
market. The
problem
is unless they prove that they're changing their ways, guys don't want to go there and be platoon guys. Look at Jock Peterson. There's a lot of guys that go there and they're like, oh, by the way, I'm strictly platoon. And that's how they've also run their offseason is they've gone out and tried to sign platoon guys. Now, it might change. Farhan hasn't changed, but Melvin might change that a little bit. And I think baseball in general is changing because you look at the Braves, you look at some other teams that play a lot of their guys every single day. So I don't know, but until they change some philosophies there, they're going to have a hard time getting guys there.
Melvin platoon guys in Oakland. He got the most out of, he listened. He was a good soldier there. it didn't work out when he was trying to for 1 year when, in San Diego, but I don't know. I think it's going to take a year. To me, if I'm a free agent that's here, don't have a job yet, the manager that I'm going to go play for would matter. And how they're going to use me and utilize me, because now I'm looking at possibly just a 1-year deal. If you're going to only utilize me in 350 at-bats, I need to go build my value somewhere else.
Now, let me ask you a question, though. Let's say don't worry about the team, where they're from, the rest of the roster and all of that. If you get a phone call in a vacuum from your agent and you say, hey, you have 2 offers, 1-year deals. One is for $8 million and one is for $11 million. The $11 million team is probably going to platoon you. So you're only going to play against one side. What would your response be?
Depends.
Where I'm at in my career.
Depends on what
city you're in, where I'm at in my career, how much money I've made. Was one team have a chance to win, the other one not? There's a lot of things that it's not just, I know everyone says it's about the money. And yes, it ultimately a lot of times is about the money, but there's a lot of other factors. Let's say the manager is a guy you fucking hate.
That's miserable existence.
Yeah, maybe it's some guy you played against and you're like, I don't like this guy. I don't want to go play for this guy. He's going to be telling me what to do and I hate this dude. No, that's not real. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, $3 million is a lot of money. $3 million is still $3 million, but quality of life matters. Let's say it's a city you don't like. You've never been happy in a city. Let's say the $11 million is Oakland and the $8 million is the Braves.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you take?
I know what you would take. You would take Oakland just so you can bash them every day and be like,
I take the Braves because the Braves have a chance to win, and Atlanta. I'd rather play in Atlanta than Oakland.
If you're strictly looking to up the value, you got to make sure you don't take a $3 million bonus for 1 year, and all of a sudden you got cratered because you only had, as a regular guy who's supposed to get 650 at bats, you got 400. That will crater your value.
Right. They diminish your value by putting you in these part-time roles. That I get. That makes a lot of sense. A guy can go there and then you're like, he's not an everyday player.
But that rarely happens. That rarely happens where they're going to offer you more to go to a dumpy team. You're talking about the guys who are getting no big league deal to a big league deal to go to Oakland. Okay. Yeah. I'm taking a big league deal and I'm going to go to Oakland. I'm going to be the veteran presence and get traded in July.
Well, all this talk throughout the day can get a little depressing since there are still many free agents left to sign. So let's just kind of pile on. Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal is out there right now, audio-wise. You can check out the podcast for free. But first, actually, I forgot to do my MGM read. So BetMGM Sportsbook account holders who create an entry in our BetMGM $1 Million Playoff Football Challenge have an opportunity to win a share of $1 million in bonus bets if they predict the 3 playoff football questions correctly out of eligible users. Each entry period has 3 questions. They're pretty simple, but log in to your account on the app or online. Go to the promo tab on your BetMGM Sportsbook account, and you can access the $1 Million Playoff Football Challenge. Complete and submit the challenge entry. 1 entry per customer permitted per entry period. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I got the question wrong. I got one of the 3 wrong.
Try again next round.
Yep.
Okay, while we have a moment, I want to air a little clip from Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal, which will be out later today on YouTube, but is already available for you on podcast format if you go to Fair Territory on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your pods. So, Ken, your thoughts on this free agent market?
So what's the answer to all this? I'm not sure there is one, and I know some fans don't see it as a problem at all. But to me, a deadline here is an interesting idea, a signing deadline of some sort. I'm not going to get into the mechanics of it right now, how it would work. I'm sure if I proposed one idea, you could find 103 faults with it. But the deadline is not something that's going to happen anytime soon, if it ever happens at all. The league has proposed signing deadlines in the past. And we saw before the 2021 lockout how quickly things could move with the deadline, how the frenzy could take place. You remember what happened. The lockout was beginning December 1st. And then right in the week before December 1st, teams were scrambling to get players signed because they wanted them under their control before the lockout started. That was a crazy week of free agency, actually probably a crazy 3 or 4 days. It was the action that we all kind of crave, similar to the NBA, similar to the NFL.
All right, much more on that topic right now. It's fair territory, and you can see some of the other topics covered, including Inside Dish on Albert Pujols, who's celebrating his, I think, 44th birthday. What are the Angels doing on the topic of Pujols? Dude and Dork of the Week, and Grilling Ken, one of my favorite segments.
I'm going to ask Pujols when I see him later how old he is.
You're seeing him later?
I'll see him tonight.
Where are you going?
Don't worry about where I go.
Oh, I know where you're going. Is it musical?
Hmm?
No?
I don't do musicals, bro.
No, not a musical. Like is
No,
there
it's
singing
athletic.
involved?
An athletic competition of banquets.
Golfing?
Banquets.
Reid Detmers is about to join us, Angel starter, so we'll get to him in just a sec. Oh, he's ready. Let's do it. Reid Detmers of the Angels joining us right now on FTLIVE for the first time. Reid, great to see you, man. How's the offseason going?
Yeah, nice to see you guys. It's going well. Can't complain. Nice weather. Body feels good. Arm feels good. I'm ready to go.
Where are you?
I'm down in Jupiter, Florida.
I was there last weekend. Not a bad place. Hit the
Mm-mm.
hit the grouper on Friday night, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Reid, have you gotten a chance to talk to or spend some time with your new skipper who was on our show for a half hour yesterday, just ecstatic as can be and feeling like he's going to bring a different energy to this ball club to get him back to the playoffs?
Yeah, he's awesome. I actually had a phone call with him when he first announced it, and I mean, it's awesome. The way he talks about what he's going to do and everything that involves being like a good team. It's unbelievable. So I'm really looking forward to it. I know a lot of the guys are looking forward to it, and I'm ready to head out to Arizona to see what he's all about and get things going.
He made me want to run through a wall after talking to him yesterday. But
Yeah.
what did you tell him? Because he told us that he doesn't go into it telling you. He's talking to Rendon today, about what's it going to take for him to get onto the field. That's what he wants from him. But he said he listens. So what did you tell Wash?
Yeah, I just told him that I'm going to show up to spring training ready to go. I obviously had a lot of stuff that I needed to work on. Last year wasn't the best year, so I came into this off season having certain points that I wanted to work on, and so far everything's going well. I feel like I'm in a good spot, and like I said, I'm going to show up to spring training ready to go.
What are those? What does ready to go mean? What does that mean for you? Do you have goals? Do you have number goals set for yourself personally?
Yeah, for me, it's just obviously staying healthy. That's the main thing. But at the same time, it's competing. I always set a goal every year, whether it starts or games won. For me, one of my goals is to win 20 games. That's always a goal going into the year. And I feel like the last couple years, guys I don't know, have gone away from it, but it's not as talked about as much anymore. But winning 20 games is a huge, huge deal. So for me, it's winning 20 games. Obviously, the stuff I'm working on, I think will allow me to be a little bit easier on my body, getting into my legs a little bit better. My last year, I know I struggled with walks, so I tweaked a couple things, my mechanics to allow me to go more towards home plate, more efficiently, and not spinning off. So as far as, or right now, I'd say everything's going more towards home plate. Everything's in a good direction, so it's easier to get the ball over the plate. Last year, I was spinning off, so it's a little bit harder. So it's just small things I'm trying to tweak, and hopefully the results show.
Don't you know wins don't matter? Ask Scott Braun. He says wins don't matter. 20 wins doesn't mean shit. So I don't know why you're wasting your time with that.
Yeah,
goal.
team wins.
Scott will be like, yeah. Why would you try to win 20 games? Just go out there and try and lose 20 games. I mean, what?
How about this? I got a follow up. Reid, what's more important to you? Your record when you pitch for your team, or your personal win-loss record. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Don't
either
they go hand in hand? If he goes out and wins 20 games, that means his team won at least 20 times he started.
That's not always the case, though, if he leaves the game, though, and kept them in the game.
So if he goes 20-10, that's better. Is that a worse or better season, Reid, than going
8-8?
Oof.
And your team
Obviously-
goes okay, so your team goes 20-10 in your starts,
Yep.
but you go 20-10, but only, or your team goes 20-10, you go 8-8. Which one personally is going to get you paid more?
I mean, the one that's going to give you paid more is getting 20 wins myself.
Thank you. Fuck off, Scott.
No, actually, the answer is neither. Because
But
any front office you talk
honestly-
to will say we don't pay on dubs, on individual win-loss record for pitchers.
Yeah, but if he wins 20 games, personally, that means he's going deeper into games, so he's getting more strikeouts, probably less walks, less hits given up, more innings pitched. All the stats are piling up. So that's, especially when he goes to arbitration, that's what they look at. They don't care about the other stuff. They're looking at cumulative stats over years.
Yeah, I mean, I think getting deep in the games is key. Obviously, it's less stress on the relievers, but at the same time, you're going deeper in games, giving your team a better chance to win. And obviously, if you're going deep in the games, things are going well. So that's always a goal. But at the same time, obviously, you want your team to win. I would much rather have our team win and put the team in a position to win than worrying about my goals. Obviously, I have goals, but at the same time, I'm rooting for the team to win. That's the main goal.
Okay, Reid, who's going to be the big bopper in the lineup for you, aside from obviously Trout this season, because you're missing, 40 plus the last several years. You know who I'm talking about.
Right. Hey, I think we got a good squad. We're going to be very young, so it's going to be interesting. But we got a good young core that not a whole lot of people know about. We got Ohtani. I think Ohtani's going to have a very good year. Same with Neto. And a lot of people forget about Joe Adell and Mickey Moniak. Those two guys, I mean, they are who they are for a reason, and there's a lot more to come.
What are you going to miss from Shohei and in the pitcher relationship? Or maybe you didn't have a pitcher relationship with him. Like he was just another teammate that did some awesome stuff.
Yeah, obviously Shohei's unbelievable. The way he went about his business was crazy. I don't know how he did both, to be honest with you. But he made it look easy. On the pitching side, he doesn't really talk a whole lot. He's very quiet, keeps to himself. But just you learn a lot from just watching him. The way he goes about his bullpens, and in the weight room, honestly. So that's the part I'm going to miss the most. That I learned the most is just watching his bullpens, watching him play catch. Just everything's in rhythm, everything's on time, and he's working on specific stuff. He's not just throwing to the catcher, preparing for the game. He's actually working on stuff so that when he gets to the game, he knows he'll be there.
I talked to somebody that was involved with the team last year, and they said with him not pitching this year, he may actually hit better than he did last year. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. I know he always had a lot of blisters, and that's partly because of his batting gloves. Obviously, his hands are moist, but I mean, just him focusing on hitting for a whole year. That's scary. He already hit well when he was a pitcher, and just taking out a whole other position, that's a lot. It's demanding, and you really have to focus on it. Just focusing on hitting for a whole year, he could put up some crazy numbers.
If he hits 60 home runs this year, would you, and I know you said he's quiet and, it's hard to get inside his head, could you see him not pitching again?
No. I think he'll always be a pitcher. He loves it. I don't know which one he likes more, but I know pitching. He likes pitching a lot because there's always stuff to work on. There's always stuff to work on hitting too, but on the pitching side, there's always things that could be changed, whether it's pitch grips, making stuff better, or just mechanically. It's but he's into that, so I think he'll always pitch.
Hey, Reid, take me through where you were at and what your reaction was when you saw the news that he signed. Of course, there's the money component, and that, your team, the Angels, weren't officially out until he announced that. We didn't know for sure. I think there was a pretty good inclination that he wasn't going to sign back there, but you didn't know. So what was going through your mind that day?
Yeah, it was actually crazy. It was I just got engaged the day before, so my fiance and I were down in the Keys, just enjoying our time, and I saw the news on Twitter, and I mean, we pretty much knew he wasn't going to come back to the Angels, so we were just waiting to see what he did, and then we saw how much it was, and we're like, holy crap, like, that's crazy. We expected him to get a lot, but not that much, especially after getting TJ. We didn't know how much that would affect things, but obviously it didn't affect much. But yeah, I mean, the first person I texted was Patrick Sandoval and Griffin Canning. Like, did you guys see that? And they're like, yeah. How crazy is that? So I mean, I pretty much stopped everything I was doing and just scrolled through Twitter to see what everybody was saying.
Is it weird that he's a Dodger? Do you think Angels fans are going to be super pissed off, and you'll hear from them at some point, this season when you're at the ballpark, where they're like, what the hell?
I mean, it's definitely weird. You're going to see him in the blue and white. But at the same time, you can't get mad at him. It's his career. He gets to do whatever he wants once you hit free agency. So I mean, I'm hoping for the best for him just because he's an awesome dude. Obviously, he's going to be across town now, kind of the rivalry. So I don't think the fans are very happy, but at the same time, you can't be mad at him.
You're gonna first at bat. You're gonna freaking bow tie him or what? First one, a little
up and in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, because that gets them going. You gotta. I don't know. I don't know what the game plan is yet. I've watched him for a couple years now. So
you got to get to that curveball of yours. So you're not up and in and blowing away with that curveball.
Yeah, you gotta keep it a secret.
Are there any pros, I guess, to a player like that leaving, because you did have to kind of build the team around him, including, 6-man rotation and all of that. So will there be a change on that front? Did you get caught up in that and want to pitch, say, every 5th day? And sometimes it had to be adjusted, or often had to be adjusted, to be able to accommodate the best player on the planet?
Yeah, it did have to be adjusted quite a bit, just depending on whether he felt like he could pitch on the 6th day or not, or 7th day. So it did have to be adjusted quite a bit. So you weren't on a steady routine. One day or 1 week you could pitch on 6 days, the next week you could pitch on 7, sometimes 8, and then sometimes if he didn't pitch, we would go on 5 days. So there will be more of a routine for the starting staff. So that's going to be nice. At the same time, I mean, we've never pitched on 5 days. So I know a lot of guys want to pitch on 5 days. So I think that's what our plan is this year. So that's going to be nice, staying on that routine every 5 days. And 6 days is a long time. It's a couple bullpens in between, and just trying to stay ready for that long in between starts, it gets kind of difficult. So the less of a wait in between starts is going to be nice.
I like that. Getting some fan comments. One said, hot take, Mickey Moniak 2024 All-Star. What are your thoughts on that? And do you have anyone else on the Angels that we should highlight, that we should be talking more about this coming season? Because if you think about it, yes, Trout's obviously there and coming back, but the attention has been so laser focused on Shohei there. It's going to feel different, and you're going to have less media around. It's going to be more chill.
That's true. No, I agree. Mickey, I mean, he had an unbelievable year last year. I think he's just going to keep getting better and better. So I would not be surprised if he was an all-star. And we have a lot of dark horses this year. We got Zach Noto, Logan O'Hoppe, Patrick Sandoval, and I mean I could go on and on. It's just a lot of guys that have kind of flown under the radar the last couple of years. Not a whole lot of people know about, but we got some serious talent in the young guys.
All right. So I'm going to read off a list of guys here. Shanwell, Neto, Yu, Joyce, Silseth, Bachman. Like, can you guys don't even have combined the number of years in the minor leagues that I had. Did the Angels move you guys all too fast? Like, do you think that's part of it? Is there a benefit to moving faster besides the fact that you're a big leaguer? And I know you went to a big league, you went to a minor league organization when you went to school in Louisville. So are you moved too fast? I mean, those are all guys that were drafted since 2021.
No, I agree with you. It is challenging, especially. I thought I moved fast with a year and a half, and then all these other guys in the past draft or these last couple drafts. I mean, they've been up within months. So that I mean, they do move very fast through the system, and it is difficult because I mean, for me, I mean, it took. I feel like I'm still not fully ready, or I am fully ready, but I feel like it takes time. If you know what I'm trying to say. And so the first year, I mean, I struggled. It was hard, and it took some time to get comfortable and get used to everything. I think that's with a lot of guys. It takes some time, and not having that experience in the minor leagues is tough at times because that's where you kind of get used to your routine and how you go about your business, and just kind of get used to all the travel. And then by the time you get up to the big leagues, then you're ready for it, and you have your routine set. You're used to the travel. So learning all that up in the big leagues is not easy. Obviously, there's some pros to it. You're getting paid earlier in the big leagues, but at the same time, you really have to figure out everything you would figure out in the minor leagues up in the big leagues, and that's not very easy.
Have you talked to your pitching coach, Barry Enright?
I have, yes.
Has he told you how good he is at golf yet?
He hasn't told me specifically, but I've heard a lot of stories, and I feel like every time I talk to him, he's on the golf course. So I have a good feeling.
Okay, all right. Because I'm just giving you a heads up right now. If he challenges you to a game, make sure you get a lot of strokes. And I mean a lot of strokes, because he is. People talk. They talk about Clippard, and they talk about Jeff McNeil, and they talk about John Smoltz. Enright apparently smokes them all. So just FYI.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be asking for a decent amount then because I need them.
Where are we playing there?
Yeah,
Where's that? Did you see the video we showed of you swinging?
What was it? No, I didn't see it.
Oh, it was a video of you taking some
It's
wax.
from your Instagram.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
Instagram.
that's here in Jupiter at Abacoa.
Okay. Here, I don't know if you can see it now, but yeah, little lefty action.
Yeah, tough swing.
That's not a bad swing. But I'm wondering why. Okay, like that's a cool pic. Like why we posted this pic? Like why are we posting a pic of you in the rough? Like we can't be like only pics in the fairway. Like get a nice picture. Even just drop a ball and have the fiance take a pic in the fairway.
Hey, you gotta prove that you're human.
Yeah, everybody falls down. You got to get back up.
Instagram's all about fakeness.
New true. Trend. Real Reid. Well, Reid, hope you had a good time, man. It was great to have you on. Enjoy the rest of the off season in Jupiter, and then we'll catch you in spring training, all right?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Reid Detmers with us on FTLIVE. Good stuff there. Hey, it's good off season hangs. Jupiter, Florida, that's the spot.
There's a golf course every turn down there.
There are many golf courses. AJ?
I was there this weekend playing golf. I was just there. Listen, there's worse places to be if you like golf and the ocean and fun bars to hang out in. There's a lot of worse places you could be than Jupiter.
Yeah, underrated spot. Let's slap hands. Kratz hats. What's good today?
Little Milwaukee brouhahas. It was one of our military days. It's my go-to. It's my go-to summer hat. Made me feel summery today.
It's fantastic. AJ, I'm going to start a new version for this or a new layer where AJ grades it. So, AJ, go
Anything
ahead.
with the military is a win for me. So
Okay.
For some reason, I really like these stars that are on this side. They do some cool stuff.
I do like that. That's a nice touch. AJ, it's a grading scale. So, A?
anything with the military is good for me. A.
It's an A. Okay.
Hey,
Just making sure.
I love
A.
A's.
I'm working on a special guest tomorrow. I've been going back and forth with him on time, so stay tuned on that front. Obviously we always have our writer insider action for you, but mixing in some more players, kind of getting ready to get back into the swing of things. Thursday, Brendan Donovan and Austin Slater will join us. So a little Cardinals talk, a little more Giants talk, and Davis Schneider, the legend in Toronto, is going to join us on Friday. Did you know that, Kratz?
I
Yes.
didn't know that. That is
Yes.
tremendous.
It's going to be great. I think some people probably have forgotten. Hey, David Schneider might be a dude this year.
No,
for
he
Toronto.
was putting together at bats.
Yeah,
He took Vukovic's glove
he's a
from
legend.
the gift and thrift. I mean, that's the standard. He didn't want Berrios to come out of the game. Awesome.
Also, amazing. We'll definitely ask him about that. If there are any players that you want us to chat with on FT, we either know them or I cold DM them and actually get pretty good responses. So let us know. Hit us up on Instagram. Just send us a DM and we'll work on getting your favorite player. Or maybe it's like your least favorite player, but you want to see if he's actually a cool dude. We can do that on FT.
My better question is who haven't? I mean, I'm looking down at the list now.
Yeah.
We haven't had Snell, we haven't had Bellinger, we haven't had Chapman, right? We've had a lot of guys.
Yeah, but those three, obviously, we can get them on the back end. They probably don't want to chat yet. But yes, we have had, I think we're getting close to 300 player guest spots, so that's a lot. But we still have plenty on the wish list. There's like 1,000 players. So we'll work on it and keep us posted on FTLIVE if you want to hear from someone. What? Did I get something wrong?
Not 1,000.
1,000's a little high, but
On a
we'll
40-man roster?
40, man. We're talking about the 26 man, bro.
How many players play, though, in a season?
26 are on the roster.
I know, but how many
AJ
play
only
per
cares
team?
about the big leaguers.
Oh, I'm sorry, I messed up.
I'm
my
not a
math.
grinder.
Yeah.
You're not.
Everyone on Wednesday.